I need you to knock some sense into me. I'm sure you can.
Yeah, I don't know.
I enjoy listening to you. I don't always agree with everything.
All right. Enough of this persiflage.
So, you want my question?
I'm certainly not going to get myself in trouble by telling you what to do.
That makes great sense. Gosh, that's good.
Did I overwhelm you with words and wisdom?
I've got 7 kids. I feel like I could call you every day.
Wait, you're telling me I'm wrong? Disconnect.
Yes, I am, Dr. Ray.
You just need to tune in to Dr. Ray, honey. He's got all the answers.
Am I right or am I right?
Probably.
Now, from the studios of Living Bread Radio Network in Canton, Ohio, the hometown of Mother Angelica, here's Dr. Ray.
Very nice to have you with me here on The Doctor Is In, one large, nationwide, actually international, sensitivity encounter group. Sharing, emoting, expressing, setting up win-win scenarios with iMessages. One big sticker system here on The Doctor Is In. Avoiding all known forms of psychobabble, however. The call number is 877-573-7825. 877-57-EQUAL. That's the number to get on to the program, because you are my guests. I take no guests on this program, even though I get an awful lot of e-person, from various authors, people who would like to parade their knowledge, and that's good, but that's not what this show is. This show is you. You call in. If you have a question, a situation, a circumstance, a befuddlement, a frustration, or none of the above, just an actual comment on life, something within your life. I'm a psychologist. That's what I do professionally. That's what I've done for quite a while. I've been shrinking now for close to 45 years. Yes, I used to be like 6'9". I can't do professional psychology here, but I can interact with you and give you some ideas and thoughts, something that maybe you can throw in the hopper of your options, your hopper options, and see what might work for you and what might not work for you. I'm not here to tell you my way is the way. It's your life. You decide. However, were you to say, that makes sense to me. That does make sense. Hadn't thought about it that way. Okay, I'll give it a shot. I'm grateful. Were you to say, that makes no sense to me, you're way off, I'm grateful anyway. I'm grateful that you have the self-confidence to be wrong. Hey, 877-57-EQUAL, regarding kids, families, marriages, circumstances, emotions, development, generic questions too, as they interact with the faith, things that people call in about. Is medication wrong? Catholic Church teaches that medication's wrong for psychotropic issues. No, of course not. But we can talk about those kinds of things. 877-57-EQUAL. Now, some thanks are in order. I definitely, that's like 100%, want to thank all the folks in the whole Ann Arbor area, and I don't know how far some people came from, for the 4 TV tapings we did last week. My great guests, Sister John Dominic, Dave Vacheres, Marcus Peter. We had some tremendous guests. Father Joe Krupp made the shows, and the audience, all you guys showed up en masse. En masse. You showed up, and you made the shows. Now, here's something we don't typically do. Usually we have 2, 3, 4 months between tapings. Not so this time around. Good Lord permitting, next week, and this will be really the last time I can make any kind of announcements about this, we will be at the Catholic University of America in D.C. Father O'Connell Hall. That's where we will be taping 4 more episodes, the last episodes of season number 15, Living Right with Dr. Ray, the EWTN TV show. We still still are asking for more people in the audience. We've got a decent-sized audience, but the more the better. So here's how you do it. If you go to my website, drray.com, DRRAY.com, right there, smack on the home page, is the sign-up. There's a link. It takes you over to the website of Catholic University of America, and you can sign up for 1, 2, 3, or 4 shows. Bring the kids. We had a nice big family last week in Ann Arbor. 7 of their kids. That's right. Hey, how many of these big-time people who get big money will actually do their show with little kids sitting right there? Huh? They were being punished. That's right, Andrew. The kids were being punished. I've had that happen. I've had teenagers in there. I asked them why they came, and they said, my mom said I had to. I go, why? Because I'm not doing my chores and I'm not doing my homework. And this is my punishment. I said, wow, it's kind of rough, isn't it? That's a heavy punishment just for not doing your schoolwork. We'd love to have you. Again, please. We don't have much more time to promote. So, and our wonderful affiliate in D.C., WMET, is promoting. They're running a lot of spots. If you go to drray.com, DRRAY.com, that's my website. Right there, I don't know how it works, but it'll pop up, I guess that's what you say. And then it'll tell you where to go to sign up. And we need to get those numbers up a little bit, because right now, a little bit quiet. So, delighted. And again, thanks to the folks in Ann Arbor. Psychologists are very, very twicky people. They're wascally people. When I was serving as an intern in grad school, I had to help my profs set up certain psychology experiments. We usually use sophomores. Sometimes we use rats. And sometimes we use rats that acted like sophomores and sophomores that acted like rats. But typically, what we promoted as the aim of our study was not the aim of our study. It was something else. We were studying something else. I know. Was that lying? One of the more fascinating studies I've come across, these twicky researchers, they put a scar, and I think the interviewees were all women. They put a scar on a woman's face through makeup. It wasn't a real scar. They put it on her face. And then they said, we want to see if there is some kind of bias, some kind of discrimination because of a scar on your face. They set them up for interviews, and I don't remember all the details. The interviews were either for an actual job interview or something. I don't know all the details of it. Not important. And it was a very realistic-looking scar. And their goal, of course, again, was to study the effect of a scar on your face on your job prospects. Would the interviewer let that be a factor? Before the interviewees went in, they said, look, we got to do some touch-up here. We got to make this look a little more realistic. In effect, what they did is take the scar away. So they didn't touch it up. They got rid of it. The interviewees went in, went through the process, came back out, and then they were asked, do you think that the scar on your face made a difference? The majority of them said yes. As a matter of fact, I feel they were unduly focusing upon my scar. Do you think the fact that you may not get the job is related to the fact that you have that particular facial aberration? Many of them said yes. Very few said it was not a factor at all. They did not notice anything from the interviewer that would indicate that that was a problem. What was the conclusion? The conclusion was you tend to perceive people's reaction towards you as you expect. These interviewees expected that this scar was going to be a source of discrimination. Therefore, they saw and heard discrimination. They were prompted, they were ready. Their screen was, you are focusing on my particular liability, my facial deformity, if you will, and that is the reason why I either didn't get the job, or in fact you asked the kinds of questions you did, or you were unduly staring at my face, which I don't understand that because you typically look at somebody when you interview them. But it shows you the power of suggestion. It shows you the power of, I am a victim, and you are treating me as a victim. If that is the lens through which I see your conduct toward me, then I'm going to see it whether it's there or whether it ain't. I used ain't on purpose because I know that my lens is you people are going to think I'm uneducated. And I was feeding into that. 877-573-7825. 877-57 equal is the number to call. Get right to you here in a moment.
Welcome to Advanced Dentistry Center family. This is Dr. Metti, and our team strives to treat you like family in a loving and compassionate way as we focus on serving you in a Christ-like manner. We do this by emphasizing prevention and general well-being for a lifetime. Our private practice is small, personal, state-of-the-art, and innovative, with the goal to educate and motivate our patients in improving their oral health. It is through a partnership with you that you will achieve the goals for your smile. Advanced Dentistry is serious about the level of care we provide, with attention to details and an exceptional level of care, skill, and judgment. We are thrilled for the opportunity to serve you.
Dr. Matthey and the team invite you to visit them at AdvancedDentistryCenter.com or call them at 248-594-9592. That's 248-594-9592. AdvancedDentistryCenter.com.
Maybe you've been hearing a lot about the need to make a spiritual communion while participating from home in a live-streamed or broadcast Mass. By asking for spiritual communion, we are acknowledging that the Holy Mass is the perfect, best way to worship God. The priest intercedes perfectly for us with God the Father because he acts in persona Christi. This is the time to see that through the priest's representation of Christ's sacrifice on Calvary, we are never separated from our Lord. Jesus, I embrace you and unite myself wholly to you.
This program brought to you in part by Ave Maria, Florida, a big kind of small town where golf carts take you everywhere and there's always something fun around the corner. Discover championship golf, resort-style amenities, and a town center full of shopping and dining. With Ave Maria University and Ave Maria Catholic Church at its heart, it's a community full of connection and charm. More than 25 model homes are available for viewing. More information can be found at AveMaria.com. That's AveMaria.com.
Because I am a man, I can hold the television remote control in my hand while I watch TV. If it has been misplaced, I will miss a whole show looking for it. Though once I was able to survive by holding on to my smartphone. Alrighty, let's see where we're going now. Well, we just lost Pamela already. Pamela, did you get nervous? Did you just simply say... I was coming straight to you next. I thought about coming to you next, Pamela. Paul from Pennsylvania. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Dr. Ray. Good afternoon.
You got a kid going all the way to college in the Philippines?
Well, that's where she's from. She's a legal immigrant, and she's going back to finish her schooling there.
Oh, okay. She's your niece.
She's interested in psychology, and I got your book. We just bought your book, that Jesus is the master psychologist. But, I was wondering if you could offer any tips that how she could avoid or what she could expect, in terms of I know they have people here in the United States for supporting transgenderism and all these sort of things. So, what's your lay of the land? What do you think she's going to encounter?
I am clueless. Not in general about life, but in general about what the universities and colleges offer in the way of psychological education in the Philippines. In the U.S., if they parallel the U.S. at all, Paul,
yes,
it's not unusual that much of what they promote as good psychology directly clashes with people of religious values. Directly.
Yes.
So that would not be unusual. As a matter of fact, one of the things I've had to deal with a lot with people calling me, kids calling me saying, this is what they want me to profess in my college psychology education. This is what they want me to believe. This not only makes no sense to me, but it clashes directly with my deepest held beliefs. What do I do? And I say, well, to the degree you can keep your head down and quietly get your education. I mean, when I was in school, they did that to me. As I look back on it now, much of what was pushed on me would not at all fit well with my own deepest faith beliefs. However, back then, in my mid-20s, I was not so clearly connected to the Catholic faith. So therefore, it was easier for me just to kind of float through it and say, all right, whatever. I think for her, she might do a couple of things, and I don't know how well the profs would take to this. But she can ask questions. My son did that. He was in a class that was really pushing something on him, and he asked questions. He said, well, what about this? What about that? How does this relate to this? You ask questions, and you can show a sign of befuddlement. I don't get this. Why are you saying this when it seems like this makes more sense, or it seems like this, even the research is backing up very much the Catholic Church's beliefs. Very much so. Father Robert Spitzer has written a book about that called The Moral Wisdom of the Catholic Church. Tell her to get it. It is, what he basically does is he goes through all of the moral stances of the Catholic Church: premarital sex, homosexuality, abortion, contraception, divorce. He goes through them all. And he says, what research is there commenting, concluding on these issues? And what he finds is that the research is much, much more supportive of the Catholic Church's view of things regarding personal well-being, social adjustment, etc., than is the cultural attitude toward it. So that's a good book. It's called The Moral Wisdom of the Catholic Church. If she's going through college, she's going to run into, I think, no question, she's going to run into people in the college, in her classrooms, that are going to say, well, man, you're out of touch. You're just flat out of touch. So she's going to have to be judicious in when she speaks up and how she speaks up. If she runs into an open-minded prof that will respect what she has to say about some of these issues, she's okay. But if she sizes up the class and she sees that if she opens her mouth she's going to get slammed on the head, then she has to be a lot more careful.
Yes, she's a very smart little girl. She's an awesome kid. And I told her that she has to be an independent thinker. And, and this is very helpful. I will get her that book. And it's great that I can refer to you, because I wanted her to listen to your program also, because, I listen to it. And this will be a good opportunity for her to tune in for that on your, the recorded ones.
She'll like that book, Jesus the Master Psychologist, because what I do is I take 18 of our Lord's prescriptions for living, and then I talk about them and why they make so much sense psychologically speaking. He's 2 millennia ahead of psychology, and one of the points I make, Paul, is that whether they agree or not, psychology is coming around to a lot of what Jesus said, and there are places where psychology and Jesus clash directly, and who has the research on their side. So if Jesus is God, he's got to be right.
Absolutely.
All right, my friend. Hey, thanks for the call.
Thanks very much, Dr. Ray. Take care.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you. Bye. Let's see. Mary said, if you ever miss the Dr. Ray program, you can listen. You can listen to the recording on the Ave Maria radio app. That's true. And you can go to the radio archives. Andrew Kruchek, my producer man, he puts them up within a day or two right on to the archives. So you go to the date that you missed, and you can hear it. And that's what I frequently do on ePerson Monday when people are not listening on ePerson Monday to their particular missive. They can go there and catch it. Let's go to Laura from Cincinnati, Sacred Heart. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Dr. Ray. How are you?
Nothing gaining on me.
So I had a question. I've been reading a lot about hypermobility spectrum disorders. The most common is Ehlers-Danlos, but there's a lot of other ones. One runs in my family, and it affects the autonomic nervous system. I didn't know if you've heard about that and how chronic anxiety and scrupulosity can kind of be a part of that. And I know our family suffers with that. And also,
Laura, is this a physical disorder?
Yeah, hypermobility. It's like when your joints hyperextend, and
I see.
Okay. Yeah, that's the most prominent, but it affects the gastro and it affects all systems.
It's a
Things
wide
are
syndrome.
Very loose, lax.
Okay. All right, I gotcha. And they're saying that anxiety exacerbates it?
No, they're saying that it leads to chronic anxiety and scrupulosity is what they're finding.
Well, I can understand leading to chronic anxiety because anything that captures your attention and your focus and your rumination can raise your anxiety levels. Anything like that. So that makes total sense. How is it that they say scrupulosity follows?
I'm not sure about that, but it has to do with the autonomic nervous system. So it's stuff that we can't control. It's just automatic.
In other words, a kind of a low-level neurological firing, a preoccupation with some of this stuff?
Exactly. Yeah, so if you go to stand up quickly, they tell you to pump your legs so the blood starts going because the autonomic nervous system doesn't fire fast enough sometimes, so you could get lightheaded. So all that's it's a lot.
The one place I feel somewhat competent on addressing this is the anxiety part. Anytime you have a chronic condition, it is easy to focus on that condition. It is easy to see how that condition can limit your freedom, your movement, your contentment in life. And the more you do that, or the more you worry about the progression of that illness, where will I be 5 years from now with this, the more you will get anxious. Stay there. I want to just comment on this just like a minute or two on the other side, Laura. 877-573-7825. 877-57-EQUAL. That's the number to call to get onto the program. Would want to hear from you. Very much welcome your calls. And I know if you're reluctant, you can stay anonymous. And then you can make up the state. You can even make up the problem. You can call To chat, if you're a woman. Jaw, if you're a guy. To emote, if you're female. To debate, if you're male. To share, if you're a lady. To argue, if you're a guy. I'm talking to Laura. She has an interesting situation. She had a disorder that I've never heard of, and it sounds like a relatively rare disorder. What is it again, Laura?
They're classified as hypermobility spectrum disorders. They're genetic conditions usually.
And they affect body parts other than the joints.
Yes, whole body systems.
Do you have that?
Yes. Yeah, mine is called Stickler syndrome. But there's Ehlers-Danlos is the most popular one. There's Marfan syndrome, osteogenesis imperfecta, brittle bones.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Did you discover this when you were a child?
No, I discovered this when my son was born. He was diagnosed with two of them. One runs in the family and one was a spontaneous genetic mutation.
And your son is how old now?
He is 17, and I wanted to ask you about the monologue, the victim mindset. I completely agree with you that, that affects you greatly, your mindset, but when you're legitimately, kind of victimized, I know disabled people are often bullied or ignored. How do you deal with that when you're very sane and you recognize what's going on? Because I know I feel like my son struggles with that.
Well, you answered your own question here, Laura. You said when you recognize what's going on. In other words, if it goes on, then you digest it and deal with it. You don't look for it if it's not going on. If I meet your son, and I talk to your son, and I enjoy your son, and I interact with him, I don't think I'm going to show anything that would indicate I think less of him because he has a disability. If, on the other hand, he looks at me and says, I know what that guy was thinking. He was trying to be nice, but he really wasn't nice. He couldn't wait to get away from me. Just some of the questions he asked. That's what your son's got to watch. When he has no evidence that people are doing that, you don't attribute it to him. There's the difference. And I think it's safe to say that it's not a 100% response from other people. There's probably a whole bunch of people, probably the majority, that would look at your son as a 17-year-old young man. That's it. And whatever it is that manifests his disorder, and he thinks is not only obvious to everybody, but persuades them to look at him differently, he's got to be careful. You can tell him that. You tell him this. So, don't do to other people what you think they're doing to you. You think they're attributing...
But that's not...
Go ahead, honey. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. That's not how it manifests. He doesn't actually ever say anyone's treating him poorly.
Okay.
I see it more in his confidence level. Like his confidence as he's aged has gone down. And he doesn't, reach out as much or...
Well, they're related here, Laura. If he doesn't reach out as much, what's he saying? Well, they're going to view me differently. Right?
Yeah.
Ask your son. If they didn't do that, would you feel as socially insecure as you do? Because you're worried that people are going to react to you a certain way, so therefore you avoid them. And you're avoiding more and more people, son. Is it possible that you're avoiding a lot of really good friendships? A lot of good connections? Now, part of it, I would wonder, Laura, is if as he gets older and he starts thinking to himself, well, what about a girlfriend? What about getting married? What about a job? What about education? He's no longer a child. So he's not 12 thinking, my next thing is what I'm going to play on the computer. No, he's heading into life now with all its complications. But I think the thing you really got to stress to him is, son, there are people who are going to love you for who you are no matter what. If you run up against anybody that you think might think less of you because you're particularly handicapped, then those probably aren't people you're going to have much contact with or want to have contact with. Now, I don't think that reasoning is going to make any difference to him. He's going to have to experience that himself. But maybe if he wants to go talk to a counselor could help him realize that what he's doing is going to dramatically limit his ability to go out there and have kind of a wider social existence.
Yeah.
So the bottom line here,
kind of the get out of your comfort zone sort of thing,
yes,
right?
Absolutely. Because the bottom line is, even though he says nobody really reacts to me any differently because of this, he believes they're thinking it, or he believes they could. In other words, I might run up against somebody who would do that. And I would say to him, son, whose problem is that? Whose problem is that? If they're going to do that on the basis of something about you that's certainly not your responsibility, then what does that say about them? You're giving them way too much power, son. Way, way too much power.
Yeah, but then comes the scrupulosity.
Well, I don't know how that's related, Laura. That one, I don't know. I can't. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what the neurological speculation is there. I can see the anxiety part of it because you worry. That's what your son's doing. He's getting anxious because now he's thinking college, girlfriend, friends, sports. So he's thinking all the adult type stuff, and now he's getting anxious. So I can understand that part of it. Laura, thank you. Thank you for a very, very nice call. You bless your son, dear. All right, this is Dr. Ray, 877-573-7825. Still got a call up there. I want to talk to Marie. She's waiting patiently. Pamela left. Pamela's husband wanted a divorce, and she was questioning. She wants to do God's will, help her sort out God's will. Well, I'm no theologian or priest, although sometimes people call me Father Ray of this program. They, in fact, ordain me probably within about 4 seconds. Which all these poor priests who get 9, 10, 11 years of education, I can do it in 4 seconds. Well, the other people can make me do it in 4 seconds. I can't really. 877-573-7825. EWTN radio partner, Pucks and at Bonham, Peace and Good Radio, serving Albany, Saratoga Springs, Hudson, Esperance, and Cherry Valley, New York. 15 years on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Tom and Laura Threlkeld and a great team there at WOPG AM and FM. Really neat. Congratulations to you guys. 15 years. Way to make it work. That banjo is something you can't really be depressed by. Really hard to be depressed with a banjo. Harmonica, too. Tough to be depressed with a harmonica. You can be depressed with a violin, sometimes with a harp, but not a banjo. This is Dr. Ray. Thank you for joining me here. Let's go to Marie from Rochester, New York. Hi, Marie.
Hi, Dr. Ray.
You want me to save you some money? Is that what this is all about?
I wish it was that easy. It's not. Our daughter has some mental illness that's untreated, and it's gotten worse over the 2 months that she's been home, and now we have to ask her to leave, and we never expected to be in this sort of the quandary. And at first we were going to, get some kind of housing for her. And then we were told by some people that, some of the counselors and people we knew, that we should just have her go to social services. So now I thought I'd ask how you felt about it.
What kind of mental illness are you talking about?
Well, it wasn't diagnosed, but we're suspecting a manic depressive, because she'll sleep like a lot during the day, and then she's had some rage at the family. My other daughter that's here, and my husband and I. And one time she threatened to commit suicide, and I called the police. So this is all happening over 2 months here.
Where was she before she came back home?
She was in Arizona for a couple of years, and then she was up in Rochester for a few years before that. She had a 9-year relationship that fell apart in Arizona. And
so
she blamed it on that, but
she functioned reasonably well this past several years?
Not really. She's not able to hang on to a job, but better than she's definitely here. I mean, she did have work, at least part-time, and she's gotten worse, I think. And definitely, because she was able, like in Rochester, to hold jobs at least for a certain amount of time, and then things weren't that good, and and some volatility, but now it's out of control almost.
Now it's dangerous. She can get violent.
Yes, yeah. She hasn't gotten violent, but she does. Well, maybe you would call it that. She's thrown things. She hasn't.
I'd say that's violent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you're looking at a picture. It sounds like a picture of a young lady who, she's late 20s?
No, we're talking 32.
32. And so she drifted, she bounced, she made a lot of bad decisions, emotionally kind of didn't get herself stable for the past decade after she left your house, and it's always been kind of sketchy on to how she managed life. So she came home. I'm going to give her some support, and you found that as she was at home, she was getting nastier, harder to live with, less likely to look for a job, I assume.
Yes, yeah, and we were partly we said just go to the psychiatrist, get some mental health, and then you can look for a job after you get better, because we didn't really think she would be able to handle a job. But
so you're
she does
thinking
a little odd jobs, but
you're thinking, do we put her into an apartment someplace and give her a monthly allowance to live on, or do we explore what state options are available, correct?
Right. I think our family is kind of leaning toward the state option, because I don't know how far that would extend, that we would be supporting her for 10 years. I don't know.
That's a legitimate concern. The state options are much tougher for those people who have disorders of mental health than they would be of people with developmental disabilities or intellectual handicaps. There are many more options and homes and programs for what they used to call MRDD. When my daughter had a number of significant mental health issues in her late teens, and we really had to struggle to find a group home for her. We had to get the proper diagnosis, all of that. So as a result, if you're going to do that, you're going to have to look and see what the options are for you. Start calling around. Start seeing where we can talk. Who can we talk to?
Yeah, they told us that she would have to appear in front of them and say she's homeless, and then they would put her up in a hotel until they could find housing.
Who's they, Marie?
The county social services.
Okay, all right.
And there was a lady. I talked to the assessment lady.
That's probably a good direction. You sit down and you say, "This is our situation. She's not getting mental health help. She's refusing. She's getting really tough to live with at home. We're starting to fear a little bit for our own safety." We had to say that with my daughter. We had to say, "Well, yeah, we're a little bit fearing for our own safety in that sense."
Right.
Yeah. So we found group homes for her. We did. As she was an adult, we had several, of which she sabotaged. But at that point, we found them, but you're going to have to do some searching. You're going to have to do some searching, and I would wonder how cooperative your daughter's going to be.
Yeah, we don't know. We're going to serve her with papers and give her a month to leave. But she
may just decide, I'm going to go live on my own. I don't want to go to one of those group homes. I don't want to go to a facility. I'm not going there. That's not going to happen. They'll constrict my freedom, and I'm going to go do what I want, and I'm going to go find where I'm going to live, and who knows how she'd react.
We don't know. It's really hard. I don't know where God is in all this. This is really tough.
Well, he's there with you, but at the same time, obviously he's not going to cure and fix every disorder that everybody has everywhere. You know, that's the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your situation is you make your best judgment. You say, this is the direction we think is the best for us to go. And if you keep second guessing yourself, if you say, yeah, but what if it isn't? What if we should have done this? What if you can't live like that. You can't live like that. You're not God. You can't say, this is the absolute best option. You can't know that.
No, we don't know what's going to happen.
We thought we had a couple of beautiful options for my daughter, and it blew up in our face. Okay, so we're going to second guess. We're going to say, this is what we thought at the time, given what we knew. This was the move we made.
Right. We don't know if she'll take what we're thinking.
My daughter didn't. So this is what you're going to run into. But then you'll decide as a parent. You'll say, well, for whatever the reason, given what she wants to do, she can't live here.
Right. That we figured that out. That is not too unclear. It's just what happens when you close the door to her. Yeah,
that you're going to have to be ready to respond to her reaction to whatever you choose.
Well, I think we're going to get extra people around when we do that.
Oh boy, okay. I got that part. I know what you're saying. Extra people. Yep. All righty, dear. Good luck to you. God guide you.
All
right, honey.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ray. Bye.
This is Dr. Ray heading into the last segment. Getting paid for this? Amazing.
We are the pro-life generation, passionate about building the culture of life in our healthcare and in our nation. But not all healthcare options are equally pro-life, and some provide morally objectionable procedures. CMF Curo is different. CMF Curo is a pro-life Catholic healthcare ministry providing a pathway for its members to build the culture of life in their healthcare choices, not destroy it. Learn more about CMF Curo at mycatholichealthcare.com. That's mycatholichealthcare.com.
How did the first community of believers in Jerusalem pray? The Catholic Catechism tells us that as Christ's disciples were gathered together on the first Pentecost, the Spirit of the promise was poured out on them. They were in one place, devoting themselves to prayer. The Holy Spirit came to teach the church, to recall for her everything Jesus said, and to form her in a life of prayer. The first community devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and fellowship, to the breaking of the bread and prayers. This sequence is characteristic of church worship founded on apostolic faith, lived in charity, and nourished by the Eucharist. The faithful hear these prayers and read them in the Scriptures and make them their own, particularly the Psalms. Thus, the Holy Spirit keeps the memory of Jesus Christ alive in His church at prayer. He leads her to the fullness of truth. He also inspires new formulations to express the unfathomable mystery of Christ at work in His church. This is Peggy Stanton, and this has been the Order of Malta's Minute with the Catechism.
Do you own popular index mutual funds or ETFs? If so, you're automatically own shares of companies that conflict with your moral beliefs. Ave Maria mutual funds are managed to conform to pro-life and pro-family values. Long-term investors can invest in the no-load Ave Maria mutual funds. The experienced professional portfolio managers make decisions based on investment fundamentals and pro-life values. You can learn more about Ave Maria mutual funds today at 866-AVE-MARIA or visit AveMariaFunds.com.
Got to say, saints are the heroes of the Catholic faith, examples for all Catholics. showing us how to lead a more satisfying, more spiritual life with our Lord Jesus Christ. So, you want to see the comprehensive documentation of the saints who serve as the theologians and doctors of the church? Go to EWTN.com. Click Catholicism. That's right. Find out about the saints. They got some really great stuff. Amanda from Waynesville, Ohio. Yep. I know where Waynesville, Ohio is. Go through there a lot. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, how are you?
How old is your son?
He is about to turn 12 next month.
You getting in trouble at school?
Not necessarily. I mean, a little bit of trouble, but just more socially having trouble with peers. He struggles with ADHD, and even on medication is still very impulsive and kind of can be loud. And I think that maybe affects him with peers at school. And also, you know, we're trying to help him at home, but I've talked to you several times, and I'm trying to take your advice. We have given him way too much freedom with, PlayStation, phone, YouTube for a little too long, especially with his ADHD, and now trying to rein that in and take some of those things away. It's like his behavior has gone like through the roof.
Well, you changed the rules. Amanda, you changed the rules on him. That's why he's mad.
We did, and I know that you said that we are allowed to do that as parents, and it takes courage to finally do that. And I prepared my husband and myself that I said this is going to get worse before it gets better. My concern is that he comes home saying that everyone hates him and his life is terrible and he wants a new life, and he's just very down. And I know when you have been given freedoms and then they're taken away and then you're not like everybody else at school, of course he's going to feel like an oddball. But
he's mad at life and he's mad at you.
Very, very mad at me.
Yeah. How dare you? How dare you make these changes now? So unfair. Right?
Yes, that's exactly what he's saying. And you prepared me that he was going to be that way, but I think my concern now is that, you know, the way he's acting and what he's getting back from his peers at school because of where he is right now, I'm like, do I consider taking him out and maybe homeschooling him and getting him into a better place and then kind of releasing him back into the wild, or do you think that's extreme for me to
No, I don't think it's extreme at all. I would wonder how he'll cooperate with you if, in fact, he's coming back home and he's deciding, hey, this is play school, and who's mom to do this with me? I don't want to do my work. I can get up at 9 o'clock and go pee for a half an hour and then get a drink and then go outside, and then when she's calling me and I'm ignoring her, you'll have to figure out how to deal with all that, discipline-wise.
Right.
On the other hand, it's not unusual. Sounds like a Tom Jones song. It's not unusual when you have a kid who's had a lot of freedom and permissiveness for this kind of reaction. I'm miserable now. I'm unhappy now. Life stinks now because I was doing fine before. Well, in fact, he wasn't doing fine before. He was just as unhappy. But the difference is now you're trying to protect him from some of the stuff that he wants to get attracted to.
Yeah.
Some of it too.
And I do worry about the things that says, you know, with we just started him with a counselor, and she did ask him a lot of questions, and he didn't say he was, you know, thoughts of suicide or anything like that. But I just worry as mom. You know, I worry about his self-esteem and how low it is, and you know how down he seems, and I know they're not supposed to be happy all the time, but it's hard because I don't want to miss something, and then he's, you know.
You can't parent in fear,
I don't know.
Amanda. You cannot parent in fear. You can't say, if I'm going to make what I think are good judgments for his well-being, how will he react? And if he reacts a certain way, I'll never forgive myself. You can't parent like that. You're going to have to say, this is what I'm going to do as a parent. This is my best judgment, and I'm going to deal with his reaction and deal with how he responds to this. You got him seeing a counselor. You got him talking to somebody. The counselor will tell you if, in fact, he or she sees that this kid is so distraught about life that he needs to have someone keep a close eye on him. That's very, very true. But on the other hand, though, if you do bring him home to homeschool, he may resist that too. He may, on one hand, say, I hate school, but on the other hand, no way am I coming home. My friends are at school. I don't know. I'll have to see how he'd react.
Well, and I kind of thought about, because he does come home sad so often, I thought, maybe the next time he comes home saying, hey, is this something you would be interested in? I wouldn't want to rip him out just because I'm so scared that how he's getting treated. If it's something he would be open to or something he would want, I would definitely want to know his opinion.
Well, yeah, I would
he would
definitely
feel
feel him out. There's no what. You can ask him about this. But he's not the main determinant. You are. His opinion counts, but it isn't necessarily a veto opinion. Amanda, I got to run. I've got about 10 seconds left. Thank you for calling, dear. Good luck to you. This is Dr. Ray. Start the music, Andrew. Thank you all for joining me. Go to drray.com to sign up for the show.
For information on Dr. Ray's presentations, books, and CDs, visit drray.com and follow him on Facebook and Instagram. The Doctor Is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.